man, I don't have any eloquent way to ask this question, man. How does that type of stuff we saw happen last night happen 3 games in a row?
This team lacks a leader. I think although they've handed the keys to De'Aaron Fox and showed him it's his team, and by his numbers and play, um, you know, he's shown that he can capable of that. But at the same time, his natural characteristics isn't to be a leader. I mean, that was one of the main questions, when I came into this season as an analyst. I always come on the outside looking in. I never knew who the leader was. So that was my question. Like, who's going to be the leader when they've gone 3 or 4 empty possessions, hurried 3-point shots, haven't cut, had no spacing? Who's going to get them into a set that will get them a bucket?
Right.
Normally, that's your best player. In this case, that's your point guard. But that's it. Like, no knock on De'Aaron. I just think that's not a part of his nature, and we're seeing if he can grow into that.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. I feel like they've done some stuff with the roster that's, kind of improved some stuff or unlocked this guy here and there. But one of the main issues was I don't think they, like you just mentioned, have the leadership, not only on the court, but no knock to Alvin Gentry or any of those guys, but not on the sidelines either. Is that, when you talk about leadership and things of that nature, we've had this discussion a number of different times. Is that something that you can grow into, or do you feel like, you're either born a leader or you're not?
I think if you're young, you can grow into it. Obviously, it will be your way of leading, but it's, outside of maybe Pop and Spolster and Thibodeau, there's a handful of guys to me in the league that kind of demand that respect. I think the rest of the guys kind of just get in where they fit in and get out of the way when they need to. You know what I mean? So there's only so much respect or leadership or, can come from a coach. At the end of the day, these are grown. This is not me coaching my 13-year-old kids, and I know I have to be the leader. Right. These are grown men making hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what I mean? So I don't care if you have the greatest leader as a coach. You're going to have someone on the floor. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, those guys were extensions of Pop. Those guys were great leaders on the floor, while Pop kind of was a leader off the floor. So again, it to me, it's less about the leading and the coaching, and it's more about these players kind of figuring out who is the leader or who wants to be a leader, who can be the leader. And that's the one thing, why, not to kind of gripe on what's already happened, but that's why the Halliburton trade, was kind of a real shakeup for the team because, being around that team a lot, you're hearing that he's the one that was kind of arising as a leader, and he was ready to take that on his shoulders, and he was, voicing it and showing it through his actions. So, now he's gone. They're kind of back to square one. They got some talented pieces, but who was going to lead this team?
Yeah. And so the concern with that now is you talk about Duncan being an extension of Pop or Kobe being an extension of Phil or whatever. Like this essentially either has to come from De'Aaron or Harrison has to stick around because they can't go acquire someone through trade or through free agency. And all of a sudden they step in the locker room this offseason and become the leader, right?
I mean, that would be something really rare if that happened. There are players out there that demand that kind of, just hypothetically, if Draymond Green came to your team, I think he can step in and roll. It'd have to be a really strong personality that led by example, and I think these guys would follow along. But again, I think, that's probably highly unlikely. I think, and it's not even a knock on these guys, but Harrison and De'Aaron are, arguably the 2 best players. You can add Sabonis to that now, but these guys are naturally quiet manners. You know what I mean? They're not very outspoken. They're not the loudest in the locker room. They're not the funny guy. They're really good basketball players to come and do their job. You know what I mean? So again, that's not a knock on them, but they're just not naturally leaders.
Hey, Matt, we've had a lot of discussion, and neither one of us have been in an NBA locker room at halftime. What goes on in there? Say you're in the Kings situation where they're up by 15, 20 points at the half, and they've, blown 2 20-point leads 2 games prior to this. What is the coach saying? What are the players saying to each other? Is there a mention of, hey, we've been here before, let's keep doing what we're doing, or be ready for this or that? Like what usually goes on in there, and what do you think should be going on in the locker room during the half when the Kings are up and then come out so flat?
I mean, this is obviously just be my guess in the Kings locker room that they own these leads of late. It's the coaches saying exactly that. We've been here the last 2 games and we've let go of the rope. let's continue to do what we're doing in this second half and play a full 48 minutes. But I said this last night on the broadcast, playing with the lead is different. And it was funny because I said this right before a soundbite of Harrison Barnes came in his post-game interview, and he's just like, we're used to being down. We're not used to being up. And I said it's just the lead is a lot different than trying to fight back and come from behind. It's a different style of play. But it takes some maturity to understand, because we have to lead in this second half, we have to continue to do what got us to lead. Yeah. We can't go off script. We can't start going ISO. We can't stop. We can't stop cutting. We can't stop making the extra pass. And it seems like, these last few games, that's exactly, also the Dallas breakdown kind of came in the fourth quarter. But, definitely last night with the Knicks game, they came out and did the exact opposite. I was, Sabonis would get the ball and no one was cutting, or they would stay around him and he'd get double teamed. No one really got out in transition. They stopped playing defense. And to me, what got them the lead was playing defense and got them in transition and got them flowing in their offense. So it's just a combination of things that they didn't do in the first half that got them the lead. It's the second half was full of.
Yeah.
When you're on the floor, can you sense the game slipping away? Like when you're up big and the lead gets, if you're up 20 and the lead gets down to like 11, 10, can you feel it?
The momentum is real. You know what I mean? Momentum is real. And I've been on teams where, we're in the semis ready to go to the Western Conference Finals against, the Warriors up 3-1 against Houston going in the fourth quarter up 17. You know what I mean? We have the greatest floor general in the history of the, arguably one of the greatest floor leaders in the history of the game, Chris Paul. And we feel a 17-point lead slip right out of our fingers by James Harden on the bench. It was Corey Brewer and Josh Smith. So when people say momentum, that momentum is real, whether you're on a away team or a home team. It's real, and it takes a collective effort to we've gone 4 straight possessions, nothing. What can we run right now that we know is going to give us the best chance to either get to the free throw line and get a bucket? And that's what Chris would say, and that's what I was thinking. So it's just like, who team is going to be that person? And again, not to reiterate what I said earlier, but that was the very first question when I came to this team on the first telecast. I was like, who's the leader on this team? Because I don't know. From the outside looking in, I didn't know.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, is there anything positive that can be taken out of the fact that they continue to be able to get up this much on their opponents, 19, 20 points? Or in your eyes, is it a situation where it's the NBA, everybody can get up 20 if somebody's not paying attention? Like, is there a level of glass half full to be seen with them being able to play well enough to get those type of leads?
I mean, obviously there's no more victories in this game. Either you win or you lose. Whether you lose by 30 or you lose by 1, you lose. So there's no moral victories. But at the same time, it shows that if you're playing the right brand of basketball, you can beat anyone. And again, that next step for this team is being mature enough to not play 24 minutes or play, 3 quarters. It's to play a complete 48-minute game. And, hopefully that will come with this group being more together and someone kind of coming out of the pack as the leader.
Yeah.
Matt, does the barber come to you or do you go to the barber?
My bad, man. The barber here, I
That's good.
And I got a doctor's appointment, then I have to go speak at this event. So, we're just shaking and baking today.
Man,
you a busy man. You made time for us. We appreciate it.
Hey, Matt, real quick, man. You Niners or Raiders, man?
I'm Niners, man.
Oh, well, look here, man. Come on, air horns, man. Russ is gone. Russ is gone. Let me throw them air horns once again. Russ is gone. Let's go. Oh, happy day.
I was representing the Niners tough at SoFi at the last game against the Rams before the playoffs. I was in there, Ninered out. Old school stuff, red sweatshirt, starter jacket, and then in the NFC Championship, I was actually in Dwayne Wade's seat, and all of them were kind of fake Rams fans just because they live in LA now. In E40 are Niner fans, so we're in there going through it, and they get all excited and try to rub it in at the end of the game. But I'm diehard Niners.
Well, we going back there next year, SoFi, man. I got to be part of the takeover next year, man. We got to link up, man. We got to do a little champagne and campaigning out there next year.
I'm down. Let me know.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, Matt. Thanks for making time for us, brother.
All right, fellas. Have a